Okay, let's go, team. Welcome again, Phil, for this quick training session. So Phil's going to ask us a few questions about things he has around the Ultimate Life Planner and the system. And really appreciate you making the time to do this, Phil, because it's helping so many other people. And I'm going to answer them as best I can so that we can keep building out a better and better training framework for this Ultimate Life Planner tool and system. So Phil, hit us with your first question. Let's go.
Cool. Hey, thanks for this. So I've been super busy the last 8 weeks because I had a technician off, and so that's really put us under stress and under pressure, which is really surfacing, I guess, quite a few problems in the way I've been managing my time, and it's come to the thing. And so I've sort of fallen out of the habit, I guess is probably the right word to use, of using the diary because the chaos is coming at me so quickly. So the first sort of question I've got is like, when in the day are you planning your day and week, and how far ahead of in the week are you planning that out? Like for me, like my days can be quite dynamic that, because we have jobs that come up that need to be done. So I need to be flexible. The problem with the flexibility is then it leaves big white space in my calendar and it looks like I'm not busy. And then I book on top of what I've already done. So you got some advice or what you might do?
Let's try and unpack it. So we've got a mixture of roles here at Premier Group, the business that our manufacturing business that we run, and everyone's on the planner, right? Obviously. And I get this question. I've had this question from around the world from a few people as well. So it's a perfect question. So if you're in a reactive role, I still say you have to spend that time either on Saturday or Sunday, spend 15 to 30 minutes going through those power questions at the start of the planner, and then reviewing some of that information at the front of the planner. So just going back through the training. So I'm going to say to you, Phil, and to everyone listening that if you don't continually or once a week at least read these little this time management system, then you're going to be doing yourself a big disservice. So because the more you read it, the more you start to get it off by heart, and it starts to build some really powerful habits. So the strengths to develop, the weaknesses to avoid. So we can pretty much answer those questions in this training that's already in the front of the planner. So that's the first thing I'm going to say is read the front of the planner every single week. It doesn't take long, 10 to 15 minutes, refreshes you, inspires you, and puts you back on track with the good habits. And then spend that time to plan out everything that you do know for certain. It might be your meetings, it might be your morning routine. For example, I'm going to show you here that you can see every single day I plan in MR, which is morning routine, right? So that involves a few things, and I think we've talked about this before, Phil, so I won't go into depths on that, but you come up with some little acronyms for yourself, and then I go into my senior leadership meeting, and then our CS meeting, and then my gym time, which is gym and study, and then golden hour, which is calling at least 10 customers, proactive calling. So I've got quite a stable morning, but I do also allow time in between for reactive stuff as well. So if a staff member or someone that reports to me has a burning question, I'll make time for that, that phone call or that voice note. So I allow a little bit of slop time, or not slop, that's a bad word, flexi time, in between each of my things that I'm planning out. And even if you've been thrown into a bit of chaos here, Phil, I'm going to say to everyone listening that that's the perfect time to double down on the planner and get better at it, because as soon as you get into chaos and then you start to lose grip on the planner, you're going to start to feel out of control and more chaos. So each week, spend that 30 minutes on a Saturday or a Sunday to plan out everything you do know in the week. And yes, things could change, but I don't care right now. I'm just saying plan it in. And then each night before I try and do this before I leave work, but sometimes it's 30 minutes space once the kids have gone to bed. It's a space to actually write down to further fill out my plan. So I'm saying if you can plan your week 50 to 80%, lock it in. Block out all those time blocks that we show in the planner. But then each night you're going to review that, and as the day goes along, like today I've already added, as my day's been going along today, this is a great example, I've been adding things in for the next couple of days that have come up that I know I can't fit in my plan today. They're not A priorities today, but they could become A priorities on Thursday and Friday. So they, you can see already your Thursday plan is pretty big. Friday's only got a couple of actions in there, but it's already half booked out from my planning on Sunday. So, and you'll see that on my Saturday, my Sunday, all those pages. So I'm just saying each night you need to refine tomorrow's plan, refine it. And as the day goes along, you might actually do some further refinement. And if a crazy, like if a the customer's always the priority, right? So if a customer comes in and has a, like a remedial for us as a drop tools, go fix it. And that could throw your whole day off course. And that's probably what happens to you sometimes as well, or often maybe. So but that means that once you fix that problem, you've still got your plan and you can see where you left off. And instead of spinning your wheels, you get straight back into it. And the key thing too is when things go pear-shaped, keep recording your actual, because otherwise you're not going to learn from where you went wrong or what went off the rails. And you're going to find out every week you're going to get a little bit better. So I'm asking everyone that's listening to get 1% better at planning every day, and at least a few percent better every week, because you're going to review your actual column and you go, man, every week I'm getting these remedials coming in. How can I obviously mistake proof these processes for the customers? That's a different matter. But B, how can I get better at allowing a bit more flexi time in my day?
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's awesome. So my key takeaways are sort of try and have 50 to 80% of my day planned out.
Yep.
And and try and plan out as far further ahead as I can.
Yeah, the further out you can flesh out your day, the better. But I understand that everyone's roles are different. Some people have very reactive roles, like our customer service team. They can only flesh it out the night before pretty much, and then they often so they've still got a plan. And then same with, but our, and even our sales team, they can plan a whole week ahead with all their appointments. Customers will cancel, but that means you've got a spare slot to do, either more. They know what their immediate priority is. So is it outbound calling or is it getting in front of another customer? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So sort of on to my next sort of question is, like it's playing the Tetris game to try and fill in your calendar.
Yes.
So as we start looking ahead in the week, because like I'll have different, so I might have 10 things to do in the week.
Yep.
Right. And then that's on Monday, but on Tuesday, I'll get another thing that comes in that's a higher priority than, say, the 8th or 9th thing that I had to do. So I've sort of got to shift it. So there's certain things I know, well, I'm going to have to do that on a Monday, that I'm going to have to do on a Wednesday, and that maybe on a Friday. Not necessarily time dependent that they have to be at 10 a.m. or whatever. They just need to be done on that day.
On that day,
so when you're planning ahead for the rest of the week, are you just chucking those in the action item
Yeah, right there in
list?
the action list. Yeah. So you say, this job's got to be done Monday, write it in Monday. This one's got to be done Wednesday, but I'm not sure what time yet, because it could change depending on other things. Write it in the action list and put up priority against it. You say, well, on Wednesday it has to be done, so it's going to be an A1 or an A2 because it has to be done. Yeah, so then when you're fleshing out, as you get closer to that day and you're fleshing it out, you can block that in with a bit more certainty.
Yeah, and then like the day before, when you're doing your final thing tomorrow, you're locking that in.
Absolutely,
that side of things. So how, like with I'll say the next day or the next 2 days, how far ahead are you locking that day and saying, hey, that day's really done, unless the building's burning down or someone's lost a limb, that's my day.
How do I identify that day, you mean? What?
Yeah, well, so you stay a little bit.
Give me an example.
You've got them in the action list, but then so tomorrow, is your day fully locked down, or does that get locked down at the end of today?
So tomorrow for me is 80% locked.
Yeah.
I like to be a bit further ahead than that. Some weeks for me are very, very stable, like quite stable, so I can actually plan out almost 80 to 90%, and it follows that pattern, But that's because I've been doing this for years, and you do get better and better and better at it. So I have, because I'm going to jump in here and say use Habit Share, because on Habit Share you can keep that as your KPIs for work and your health and everything else. So if you're looking at Habit Share and you're going, one of my weekly Habit Share goals is to do a go look see or a Gemba walk in. For me, it's the Sunshine Earth factory, and then it's at the Malemi Street factory in Tauranga. So I know I have to block them into my week, right? So you're kind of using And you can either do that from from habit share or your daily or your routine template, which is in the front of your planner as well. So you can use either or, right? So I'm not saying that there's the perfect way to do it, but use one of those tools to pick your regular weekly activities and your regular monthly activities from, and just lay out that whole month, lay out that whole week. So yeah, you should always be. It's sort of like it's a rolling picture all the time. It's always, you're always forecasting and getting better.
Cool. Awesome. Hey, thanks. There's some good tips there. The habit share one is actually something I'll chuck that in. So I've got planning my the next day in my habit share.
Yes.
And of course it does, when I look back at the chaos that we've had and then I look back at habit share, I can see the great
that correlates.
Yeah, I can see the days, day's been chaos, and then there's red X's in my planning.
And you're being brutally honest with yourself, which is the first step. And honestly, there's so many people in that same boat, and you've done amazing with it so far. But I'm just going to say, get straight back on it. And on habit share, you might not be committing well enough to that, because you might need to put on that habit. You might say, plan the next day by 6 p.m. or by 7 p.m. So you might want to give yourself a deadline. And just keep improving habit share, because the more you improve habit share, it flows through to improving your planner. And then the more you improve your planner, the better your life gets, and less chaos and less drama.
No, that's all cool. Sort of my next question I've got for you is, and you've got the action list on the top of which is sort of like your to-do list, and then you've also got the perpetual, I call it my job list. So I have, at any one time, there's probably, I don't know, 20 tasks that I have on that list. To be honest, it's probably closer to 100.
Yeah.
But let's say I can only get through 4 tasks in a day realistically. Do I only write maybe the 4 or 5 things, maybe the 4 plus 1 more on that action list?
Yeah. Create a bit of tension for yourself. So maybe write, one more thing than you think you can get done, because sometimes you surprise yourself. Like yesterday, I got about 90% attainment, but the day before I got like 98% attainment. Some days I absolutely really surprised myself and everything's ticked. Like if you look at my Tuesday, everything has I think there's only one thing I carried forward on Tuesday. And I'm not saying that's common for me, because I'm always overloading my action list, but what you say is great. Just put down what that's the whole point of this, is getting more and more accurate at what you can cope with. Otherwise I'm very driven by stretching to the next thing, but some people like to make sure that they are realistic and they do knock it all off. So it's up to you. Everyone's got a different personality.
Yeah. And then sort of just one more question.
So you're asking, where should you keep your perpetual list, eh?
Yeah.
So where do you keep it right now?
In 3 places.
Okay.
So I've got my head. I've got a Monday board we're just starting, because I like to share. I like to share my the job list so people can do that. And then I've also got a book, my notebook, where I'm write things down. And I think the problem I've got at the moment is I actually haven't got, I guess, one source of truth. And I don't trust each of those individual systems on their own, and I'm falling over because of that.
So what I suggest then, Monday's a great platform. We used to use that ourselves, and then we shifted across to Microsoft Planner. So everything for us now is on Planner. Our perpetual lists, our sales goals, marketing goals, or each department. So when we have our weekly drumbeat meetings, or weekly impact meetings, we call them, we review the goals on Planner. That used to be monday.com. So it's really easy to use. Just tap an app on your phone. So my strong advice is that you use, if you've got monday.com account and you're paying for it, then call it Phil's perpetual action list. Might be a separate board, and every time something comes into your head, you pop it on there. Or you might have 2 or 3 boards that are, one might be for customers, one might be business improvement ideas, and one might be I don't know, whatever else. It might be personal stuff. So just make sure you're running, one board is great if you can, but if you need to split it up between personal life and work life or whatever, then do 2. And then just use that as your source of truth, and that flows through into your planner. Does that make sense? Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
Yeah. So just one more thing on the perpetual list, and then that'll be my questions for the day. So we leave a bit of room for next time.
Great.
So the problem I have, so the work that comes to me, and some of that is like bright ideas and all that, are
Yep.
coming to me bang, 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 like at a rate probably 10 times quicker than I could action or put
Yes. Yes.
into
Yeah.
things.
You've
And
always
so
got too many ideas. Yeah. Yeah.
and so when I start writing those down into my perpetual list, the list just keeps growing and growing.
Yeah.
It doesn't shrink. It just
Yeah.
keeps growing and growing and
Okay.
growing.
I've got a suggestion. Carry on. You finish? You finish? I've got a
Um,
suggestion.
and so I guess my question sort of is like there are some good ideas that
And
like
then,
someday
yeah.
maybe, but
Yeah.
how do you sort of cull them off the list and
Yeah. Yeah.
say
Yeah.
yes but no?
Yeah. Okay. What I suggest is, again, using Monday.com is as the ideas, and every entrepreneur and every creative person has the same problem, right? You got 20, 50 ideas a day. You can't possibly action them all. And you only want to pick the best ones. I still say keep a master perpetual action list, and
Yeah.
then just add every thought that comes to your mind in there as it comes up. You say, oh, that would be a great idea for the business, or this would be a great way to improve the life of the customer, or this would be a great way to improve that process. And then in your weekly review, actually, because Monday.com is easy for this, shift them into A, Bs, and Cs, or A's and Bs. So have two lists to say, A's, this is a brilliant idea that I have to action in the next month. So you might say this month's, and then you might say maybe one day list. And then you can discard the rest. So yeah, just you're going to have to limit yourself, because otherwise I'm the same. I used to keep a notebook of my perpetual ideas, and I'd go through it and review it and then cross them out when I'd nailed them, or cross them out when I thought, nah, I'm just never going to get to that. So Monday.com is really good for that, or Planner, whatever platform you're on. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. As I say, that's probably one of my biggest things is that there's so many great ideas and so many things, and every one of them, like now I've got two things that are coming out of here. Like you talked about Microsoft Planner, I'm thinking, oh, is that going to be better for me because we've got the Microsoft platform?
Yeah, if you're paying for Microsoft already,
so all of a sudden I've now added one more thing to
one more idea.
One more idea.
Yeah.
And
well,
like
that's a good example, because if you shift, you might be paying a subscription for Monday.com right now. Shifting to Planner is going to, because you're already paying for it, it's going to save you a heap of money. I would call that a priority, because straight away you're going to add those dollars back on the bottom line. So you go, bang, I need to action this in 1 week.
Yeah.
So you might put in your 1 week list or your 1 month list.
And so what I started doing, so I got a virtual assistant that's helping me. And so really all she was doing for me was just gathering my, to-do list. And the problem I found is that all that was happening is the list was just growing and growing and growing and growing.
Just getting bigger and bigger. Yes.
And then, of course, it became unmanageable. And
Yes.
so the last sort of idea I had was putting like a limit on there's only 10 A items.
Yeah.
So if that's full and I say, hey, we want to look at, this planner, well, okay, what do we take off the list? And I think that's the biggest thing I'm starting to realize is every time I say yes, I'm also saying no.
You've got to drop something off the other end.
And so, it's like, okay, it's yes to this, but okay, so no to that. Oh, actually, no, sorry, I can't say yes in this instance.
Yeah. No, that's really powerful. A couple of things to add there. And I think every entrepreneur struggles with this, is hit everything with the simple stick, which means simplify and declutter. So like, look at your home and you think, look at your garage and go, what is it in there that I don't like? It's a lean principle, right? What in there do I not need right now? And I haven't touched for 6 months or 12 months, and I'm probably never going to touch again. Just chuck it out or sell it on Trade Me. Like, you're constantly should. And if you're going to buy a new item, and add that to your garage that you're going to use, what are you going to get rid of? Like, you've got to keep getting lighter and lighter, not heavier and heavier. Otherwise, we just build up so much baggage, whether it's emotional baggage, whether it's physical baggage, business baggage, whatever it is, and it's like gravity, it's like waste. It's like gravity, so we've got to keep on really aggressively getting rid of that. And that's where the plan is so helpful, because it forces you to make time every day to make those improvements, strip out waste, make a daily improvement. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I mean, what really sort of dawned on me with using the planner is like, we're now sort of in March, and I look at the thickness of how many pages have gone by, and I'm thinking that's how much time has evaporated.
It's so visual, isn't it? So visual.
Yeah.
It's so visual. It gives you a kick in the butt every day.
Yeah. So that's my questions. Hopefully we haven't taken too much time.
No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Really appreciate. I've got some real good value out of here on what to do, getting a bit more specific, planning out 50 to 80% of my day, keeping that perpetual list and that master list. I like that idea, and go from there. Hey,
Awesome,
thanks,
Phil. And
Bernard.
is there anything else you want to say to the viewers to end this training session? Anything else?
Just get started today.
Yep.
And it's, like it's progress over perfection.
Yep.
And like, and the whole idea of what we're trying to do is surface the problems.
Yep.
And so right now I'm feeling the pain of those surfacing the problems.
Yep.
And it probably doesn't feel that pleasant while I'm doing it, but I know the answer is actually stopping.
Yep.
And trying to get the planning in to move forward. So
otherwise you're forever stuck in the chaos, stuck in the whirlwind. And if you don't pause for a few seconds and a few minutes every day to improve the planning, record your actual, and then I'm just going to say for the viewers again, just reading the training system at the start, review that every week, and you're just going to get better and better. And that's all you're looking for, 1% better every day.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Phil. Chat soon.
Cheers. Bye.
See you, mate. See ya.